Hey guys, so today what we're doing is I'm actually creating an educational disc for kids. So in this particular case, I'm making this as a gift for a 6-year-old. And they love computers. They want to make their own computer games someday. And so I want to give them the right start so they can learn first, of course, how to type, and then migrate into things like logic and other things that's going to help aid them along the journey. Now, of course, 6 years old, yes, that's very young, but this is something I think they'll absolutely love, and they'll get to learn Linux in the process. And so I wanted to explore some of the educational games and apps that are available on Debian, Linux Mint, and Ubuntu. As Linux Mint is what I have created an installation disk for. Now, I did try to record some of that process. I'm not sure if that video came out right, but we're going to go ahead with this created disk, and I'll tell you first off how you can make one so you can meet me where I'm at right now. So first off, of course, you'll need to download the Linux Mint ISO, and you can find that on their website, on the Linux Mint website. And another tip I have for you is when you do check out the Linux Mint website, I do recommend taking a look at the checksums, if not using the PGP itself. So the PGP verification, of course, is going to be the very best option, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. I've already installed it to a disk, but I did want to run through what I went through and what I'm not sure if was recorded right. So we would go to the download page on it. Now, what you'll want to do is, at the very least, you're going to want to check the checksums. And so once you download it, you'll then run a command like sha256sum and then mint.iso or whatever the file name is. Then you're going to cross-check that against this right here. Now, one tip I have for you on checking checksums is try to use two different sources. One for the ISO download, another for the checksum, as the checksum is going to be dependent on the contents of the file itself. So changing the name of the file is not going to affect the checksum at all. Only changing the content of the file will affect the checksum. And this is another cryptographic method for using verification. So PGP, where things are signed with the developer's keys, can ensure that you have the correct file. It hasn't been modified. This as well is another method of verifying. And check out my blog at bmc.link/politictech. I have a few different tutorials on checksums. Now that we have that out of the way, once you open the installer, you're going to select your new USB stick for the location of the final installation. Now, once you've gone through that very easy guided installer, I personally didn't add encryption because this kid is not going to remember the passphrase anyway, but it's an educational disk and there's really not going to be anything private or personal in there anyway. So once you've done that, you should be booting into it. And once you finish your installation, just boot right into the USB stick, as this is going to be a portable educational disk. And so I'm now booted into the USB stick, and my next suggestion is to go ahead and take a look at the welcome, and you can check out some documentation here as well, find out different features and ways to contribute as well. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at some of the applications. Now, there's also an updater, which you may want to go through that first and make sure you have the latest updates. Of course, I made the passphrase as simple as possible. It's one of those ABC 1, 2, 3 passphrases, as I think this is sufficient for an educational disk, because there is no one else who's going to actually be handling this disk except the kid. So we'll go ahead and install the updates and ensure that we have everything up to date. Passphrase again. And while it's updating, we can go ahead and take a look in the software manager. To find the software manager, where I recommend you install first, so first thing you're going to want to do anytime you want to install new software is go to the package manager, the software manager right here. Click on that, it's under system, and once you open that, you'll have something like this. And the reason I recommend installing from this first is at least you know these applications have been verified and packaged by the developers themselves for the Linux operating system. Now, if you were to, on the other hand, go to a fork of an application, you don't know if a fork is safe or not. So if you're not aware of the actual authors of a fork, you should be very cautious about approaching a fork of anything. So why I recommend using the official software from the developers of the Linux operating system you're using at that moment is because it's much safer. And then if you can't find it in here, then you can go and look outside. But I do recommend first always checking your local software manager to have the safest source for a download. And there's a ton of different categories here. And what we're going to be looking at today is children's education games. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to want to look up education. I mean, there's a ton of different levels to this. So we have games. I'm exploring it for the first time in a very long time myself. So bear with me now as I look into this. So there's some fun math games. We'll go ahead and add that. We'll hit install for that. We'll hit continue. ABC 1, 2, 3 in our case. Looks like a fun math game that they may be able to enjoy. So it's always nice when, of course, the problem here is I'm still updating things, and when you're updating, you're not going to be able to install. So this is another lesson that I get to show you today, is if you are using apt or whatever, aptitude, something that is using your software installation, you're going to want to only use one of those at a time. So for example, I can't run upgrades while also installing another application. Now, unfortunately, this ran a little slower than I realized, and so you get to see a small little mishap in real time here. So once this gets finished, I'll go ahead and start to install these applications. As mentioned, you're not going to be able to use Synaptic or, apt at the same time that another application is using it. So you're not going to be able to install two different things at the same time. You'll have to wait its turn. So we'll let this finish up. And after that, we'll be able to look at some of these games. So we're going to go ahead and install that math game is one we're going to look at. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other options. Here's what we're looking for. Debian's education games. This is something I wanted to check out, and it looks like it has a few different games that are for the ages of 2 to 12 years old, so it's perfect in our instance of what we're trying to do here is create this educational Linux operating system disk. So they're going to get to learn everything on Linux on this single USB stick. They're going to be able to take this USB stick and place it in any computer they like and boot into it, have their own persistent storage, and their entire Linux operating system all on a USB stick, and it's geared towards kids in this case. That's what we're working on today. I figured I'd share some of this because this is actually going to be a gift. They are only 6 years old, so I'm not going to go too crazy on installing things. I'm mainly going to be focused on education material because really, with so many distractions on our devices, it's really a good idea to have somewhat of a minimal mindset, a minimalist mindset, because really the focus is helping someone to learn in this case, and you may like to use this idea to create your own little USB stick for your own kids that may have, aspirations to be a game developer or, whatever else they may choose to do with their life. This is a great start. Creating something that isn't going to interfere with your operating system. It's only going to be stored on a USB stick that they'll be able to boot into in a persistent storage environment, meaning they'll be able to make changes, save things to their operating system without affecting your other operating systems. So I think it's a perfect idea as a gift. and maybe you'll join me and follow me in creating one of these for a kid who's interested in computers. And while we're waiting here, I want you to smash that like button. Really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. I'll continue coming out with unique tutorials and sharing different ideas with you guys. So thanks so much for supporting this, and let's continue on our little installation. Now that we've installed all our updates and upgrades, security patches, and others, we can go ahead and take a look through some of the games that can help us create our children's educational disc. We'll go ahead and take a look at Tux Math. That seems like a fitting game to install for kids. We'll go ahead and hit install for that, hit continue, and using the software manager, we're able to check out, even see screenshots, and even reviews where you can find out what others think about applications and games before you even bother installing them. It's nice to have that bit of a preview, and it looks like everyone really likes this one. So this should help my 6-year-old learn some more math, and we will continue taking a look, and we'll launch some of these games as we install them. So this is nice. It's a nice looking game, so we'll go ahead and check out the help first. So the mission is to save penguins' igloos from falling comets. And of course we're going to need to know what is 2 plus 1, and I imagine if this gets... Stop it by answering the problem and hit enter. Might be able to solve this one. Now enter. Very cool. I think he's going to like this. So that's one game. We checked it out. We know what it does. We can go ahead and put a shortcut on our desktop, which should be fairly easy. All we'll need to do is go up here and find our Tux Math, and then I can drag and drop it or right click it and hit add to desktop. Now it's on the desktop. We have that installed. We'll go ahead and find our next idea for our educational. This is the perfect one here. Of course, typing is the foundation of all computer activity, so of course, learning that keyboard is going to be the perfect game for this kid. So we'll go ahead, and it looks like everyone has given it a great review, so we'll go ahead and hit the install. Alright, we'll go ahead and launch it just to check it out. So here's another Tux for Kids. There's so many great games that you can get to teach kids more about using computers and do it in a fun way. And so that's what today's video is really covering, is how do we do some fun activities and make it educational at the same time. So we'll press the space bar to start the lesson. We'll go ahead and just do it really quick. So we'll do AS. Alright. Okay, so you get to... I didn't know what I was supposed to press there. Obviously, we want to press the A, space bar, A, space bar, A, space bar, A. Now I'm getting the hang of it. Alright, I'm going to get out of here. We checked it out. I had no idea how to play it first, so of course I hit the wrong button. But, you know, I'm not going to edit everything out. I just wanted to check this out with you guys. So we'll go back to the main menu, press space, we'll go down to quit, and let's take a look at our very next game. Which one can we find? Oh, a paint program. That could be fun for them. Okay, pretty simple, but I think they may like it. ABC 1 2 3, simple password for a young kid. You definitely don't want to make your passwords too complex for kids, as they have a tendency not to remember these things. Let's read a little more about it. So Tux Paint is meant to be a simple drawing program for young kids. It is not meant as general purpose drawing. It's meant to be fun and easy to use. Sound effects and cartoon characters help let the kid know what's going on and keep them entertained. Sounds good to me. Let's see if it has any reviews. So as you can see, reviews on this one as well. That's another nice thing about using this software manager is you can see what other people think about these applications as you're installing them. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next application. We got Tux Type, which is highly recommended. I really recommend this one. Even if you're an adult who's just needing to learn how to type and you want to build those healthy habits with your fingers, go ahead and check out Tux Type. That could help you out. Here's an easy to use programming environment for 8 and up. So I'll go ahead and install that, as this kid just happens to want to make games. They want to be somewhat of a game developer. And we can take a look, and this may be able to help them kind of get a handle on the basics of programming with Scratch. Educational programming environment. Now, I don't know if this is for the age group of the target audience here in my particular case, but it may be useful, so we'll go ahead and hit install. I haven't actually checked out these applications earlier. I'm discovering them with you, and so we're just kind of checking everything out, and we're going to see if anything fits our need. I'm also going to install some other games that maybe aren't directly educational, but will provide some of that, fun that is Linux. We're going to go ahead and check out Super Tux Card. Of course, that's fantastic. And if you recall my video playing Super Tux Card, actually the person or the kid this disc is for is actually for them. The kid that was featured in that video and has been my helper in other videos, they are going to love this game, as I already know they do. And so we're going to hit continue and install Super Tux Kart. Really a great game, and it's a really wholesome game. There's no real violence. It's basically like Super Mario Kart with a Linux twist. And it also has some BSD characters, GNU characters. So that's a great choice. This is nice. A chess game. I like the sound of that. Let's see what the reviews say. Looks pretty good. This could be appropriate enough. Great reviews as well. So it's looking good. And we're just mainly focusing on kids games, so I'll go into some of the more older age group games in coming videos. I do have plans to do that, so we'll be exploring those as well. But today, being that I'm making this disc for a 6-year-old kid, we're only going to be exploring those types of age group appropriate games. And the nice thing is about making this USB stick is they have the persistent storage, and they'll be able to even add new games later on. So I'll be able to go back in, install whatever other games or programming or development tools that are appropriate for his age group. And so it's nice to have a disc like this, especially if you have kids and you may share a computer. You don't want them going into your computer so much or your storage device. Of course, you should keep that encrypted anyway, so that way you don't have to worry about kids messing with your stuff or files. And we'll continue looking through this. Here's one I was looking for. I wanted to check this one out. Now, I don't see much about it. Only one way to really find out is to install it. And this is Debian's education game. So we can take a look and see all of the different games that it installs and some of the libraries that are associated with those games. And we'll go ahead and check it out. Alright, I think we have a good start on our kids Linux disk educational games. So we'll also leave that treat, that is the game Super Tux Cart, which is a nice one to have after they finish learning in their learning games. We'll go ahead and put all of them on the desktop, and we can do that as easy as going to Education, right click, and we'll ensure we have all of those shortcuts on the desktop, and we'll go ahead and do that for all of them. And as you can see, we have a nice educational disc we can share with kids, age appropriate, and we can go ahead, as I showed, the Tux Type is a great way that they can learn how to type. The turtle, haven't checked that out, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. Sometimes you can see the about. It's an educational programming environment to make learning how to develop a program as easy as possible. So this could come in later as a 6-year-old. Not sure if they'll be ready for this, but I think they'll really enjoy having this disc, and so we're gonna explore more of this. And sometimes you'll find some things in the education and they might not be in the games, and vice versa. So we'll go ahead and put this other young kids education game. We'll go ahead and add that to the desktop. We got a little bit of everything here. Now we have X-Ball. And like I said, I have no idea how these games work. I've never played them. I just wanted to give them a great starting point and see what they enjoy. This is a nice one. This is going to be fun for them. I really think they're going to love this. It makes sound effects, so they can draw as well and learn how to do all this. So I think they're really going to enjoy this disc, this educational disc, and fun on Linux, because everyone should learn Linux, because Linux is great. GNU Linux, for those who are pickier, it is excellent. I think he's really going to love this. So that's cool. We'll go ahead and get out of here. And we have a great place to start, and I think they're going to enjoy having these games. I'll have to go and check out, so this even has different levels. So we'll go ahead and check out kindergarten. I'll have to set some of this stuff up later, but yeah, I think it's going to be a nice thing to have. So that is my video for today. I hope you were inspired by this. Maybe you have a kid in your family that you'll want to make something like this for. It's a great way to get them into computers and help them learn in a positive environment that is age appropriate. And make sure to like the video, share it with others so they can use this idea to help their own kids out. Make sure to like, share this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss anything. I look forward to reading your comments. And do you have any other games that are age appropriate for kids that could help be educational? Please leave those in the comments below. I'm always looking for other games to add to this, and I'd really love to know if I'm missing something. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll be back later with more on Linux and open source.